Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Garth from Ancher Architecture Office, and this is Bicheno House. Bicheno, located on the lands traditionally owned by the Paredarerme people, is a sleepy coastal fishing town on Tasmania's east coast, and has undergone rapid expansion in recent years with the proliferation of larger suburban homes on small seaside blocks. Our client was keen to respond respectfully to the waterfront property, including retaining wave song, the original 1930s fisherman's cottage. Our approach was to design a quiet extension that is barely visible from the street and has minimal impact on a gently sloping site to the rear of the block. The existing weatherboard home was originally crafted to be cosy and confined, however, seemingly impervious to the stunning vista overlooking Waubs Bay. The only acknowledgement of this view from the inside of the cottage came from a small window in the original kitchen, and you can see that there. We were also made aware of a broader memory of the Wavesong cottage as a neighbour passed by one of our site visits and shared a story of how she used to holiday in the cottage as a teenager with her boyfriend's family, but had to sleep in the storeroom because things were a little bit more conservative back then. Our client wanted their new shack to have a flexible floor plan to allow for intergenerational holidays. Working to a tight budget, our design approach was to simplify the floor plan to establish clearly defined public and private zones, transforming the original cottage into the children's wing, including 3 bedrooms, a second living room, toilet, laundry and family bathroom. And the new building encompasses the kitchen and main family living areas, as well as the parents' retreat. The addition doubled the potential sleeping number of the shack to 12, and was a key requirement of the brief to be able to sleep more of the extended family through those family holiday periods. To clearly delineate between old and new, a lower height glazed links connects the cottage to the new addition. In response to the charm of the original cottage, the new addition has a simple gable form. To create a sense of arrival from the old cottage to the new extension, we compress the volume to the glazed link. The new main entry is located within the glazed link and is sheltered from the view to the bay. As you transition from the glazed link to the main living space, the view is revealed as a framed focal point at the end of the room with a generous volume featuring high exposed trusses, textured wall and ceiling planes. The white interior provides a neutral backdrop, drawing the eye outwards towards the green, grey-blue palette of the natural landscape. To strengthen the connection between inside and outside, we placed carefully placed full-height glazing to frame the views into the garden beyond, and also allowed for the main living room space to be completely opened up to the garden, complementing the relaxed nature of shack holidays. This is just a shot of the dining area with that one of those full height glazing covered by the curtain there. The kitchen catches the morning sun, and we also have a few other windows which allow for all day sun around the full interior. And we've got a very pared back material palette, partly due to budget, but also partly to create hard wearing and robust materials for the various generations of people using the shack. Working within a modest budget, the structural design predominantly features timber construction. A material palette features hard-wearing materials that are chosen to withstand the daily rituals of shack living across the generations. Bicheno House also presented a number of unusual challenges working in a regional town throughout the Tasmanian COVID-related border closures, working through a performance solution to achieve our bushfire rating, which was originally on this side assessed as a flame zone, which we obviously went back and revised it down and ended up getting to about 29 bushfire compliance, and penguin proofing to preserve the integrity of the local penguin colony. So that effectively means you can't let them get in under the house to roost. From the surrounding coastline, the visual impact of the shack is minimal. The white form sits discreetly nestled among the coastal vegetation above the iconic pink granite coastline. Yeah.
So north is
Straight up the page.
straight up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And effectively, because that idea of relating to the coast, that precedent set a lot along that esplanade, basically, isn't it? That kind of relaxed relationship, even the little front gate, the back gate rather, connects back into the coastal walk. So it's quite a relaxed, but it's like a thing that happens in Bicheno. There's a connection. So that's also a potential arrival.
Well, that's one of the main entry points. So the shack, I mean, the front door technically would be, the new front door. That was the old front door. But this location, you're arriving from the street. But if you're coming from the coastal walk, which is where you generally do come from, because you go and get a coffee in the morning or go for a walk, you come back this way, and the neighbours or the friends of the client will come that way as well, generally. And because the coastline there shifts around a bit, and it can be unpredictable whether the wind comes in with sea breeze. So the stepping nature of the plan is dealing with that, like those, or are they just surface spaces off the back, like where the? So generally speaking, there's very rarely a prevailing breeze that's coming this way, because that's really a southerly, which is with Waubs Bay, the way it's shaped is really protected from the southerly. So the prevailing winds are from the east and the west. So these are covered areas, obviously relating to the view aspect, but also catching the sort of the morning sun. So this is the deck that catches the morning light for the master bedroom, and then the breakfast kind of ritual happens out there in some sunshine.
I think to ask a similar question that I asked Mike previously, you touched on some of the complications that came from trying to deliver this during COVID.
Yeah.
Just wondering what other impacts it might have had, and as far as also getting labour and costs.
Yeah, so the cost, we did have to substitute a few of the original materials that we had due to shortages and things like that. So the lining boards that you can see on the interior here throughout the whole, so there's no plasterboard in the whole job, but those lining boards were originally timber lining boards, but they ended up being craftwood in the end, and cement sheet ones out on the outside. The design was basically timber design. There's one steel beam in the whole job, which is coming across the top of the kitchen, which gives you that niche in there, but everything else is timber. So the builder was basically, with his small team, was able to do everything, including prefabricating these trusses in Launceston and then bringing them down. So it was all quite, compact for him to work through, which was, one of the things that made the budget achievable, I suppose. Yeah.
So Ponting Builders, they're local.
They're Launceston based.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They would have had a team down in.
Yeah. So it was a lucky arrangement. He has a shack down there himself, so he was happy to come down. And so obviously things like accommodation, we weren't having to pay for. The client wasn't having to pay for. So that all kind of worked really well. Yeah.
Yes, I'm really curious just on the topic of how COVID impacted supply chain. Did that I guess pressure prompt you to change the way that you might consider some detailing or design, just as a practice in general?
Not. I mean, we weren't specifying any Italian marble or anything like that, but I think it was really, it's just on a case by case basis, I think, for us. So in this instance, it was just, okay, it's going to take this many weeks for this material to arrive. It's going to delay us this amount of time. So, what are we going to do? We're going to sit back and wait, or we keep going. So it's just a sort of that kind of approach, I suppose. So just being a bit agile and sort of thinking on your feet a little bit.
Yeah. And this is for your sister-in-law.
It's my sister-in-law, yeah, very demanding client. They had to,
But you get to stay there.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. I have had the pleasure of staying there a couple of times, and it's been good to do that kind of evaluation afterwards. But also having a family client means that you sharpen your diplomacy skills, because you can't, my wife will not accept, that kind of thing. So it's like, okay,
And the penguin thing's very interesting. I've stayed.
Right, so, right.
Penguin vote.
Yeah, they don't sound very good.